Joining me now is South African guitarist Dan Patlansky, the only artist to be voted #1 twice on Blues Rock Review's year-end top 20 list. Dan, how's it going?
I'm excellent, Pete. Thank you so much for having me, and great to connect with you again.
Yeah, definitely. So, crazy times right now. How is everything in South Africa?
Um, I suppose it's kind of much like the rest of the world. I mean, it's in complete lockdown. I think our lockdown currently is a little bit more, I suppose, hardcore than most places. I mean, they banned the sale of cigarettes or alcohol, so it's quite severe at the moment. But on the brighter side of things, I'm getting to spend a bunch of time with my family and my kids, which is obviously a more of a rarity for me, being on the road most of the time. So it certainly does have a silver lining in some senses.
So I know that you've been working on a new album. What can you tell us about the album that's coming up?
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, I was when 2020 came along, I was so excited for the year because I've got this brand new album. It's finished. It's complete. It's ready to kind of go. And we were planning on releasing it in the second half of 2020, but I think that is going to be kind of pushed forward possibly to, probably early 2021, just with this whole Corona thing. All touring has been kind of shifted all over the world, so it kind of makes sense to kind of hang back on it just for a little bit. But it's a very frustrating thing because I'm super excited about this new album, and as you can imagine, I'm really excited to kind of have some new songs to play in the live set and the repertoire. And yeah, I worked on this album a long time, man. So I was really keen to get it out there, and I suppose it's just really, really bad timing. But to answer your question, it's done and dusted and ready to kind of be released.
From the music standpoint, what are you kind of focused on and working on now that you do have this extra time on your hands?
Well, from a music standpoint, I mean, obviously being a musician, and having a family, I kind of got to still concentrate on making a living, but doing music because that's all I can do. I'm useless to society if I'm not playing the guitar or playing music. So at this point, I'm doing a lot of kind of online teaching, like online one-on-one Skype or Zoom lessons. I'm doing webinars once a week. I've got like 100 guys join. I kind of do like kind of group workshops on improvising over the blues or songwriting, a whole bunch of kind of topics. But on a personal note, I'm finding time to write a little bit. In this time, I mean, I don't, one doesn't normally have this kind of time on their hands, just to kind of hang around at home, play the guitar. I mean, I'm working on the guitar playing side that I haven't been able to do in many years because it's always just touring. So I'm kind of figuring out new stuff on the guitar playing wise. I'm writing new stuff. So in that sense, it's quite like a very kind of rich experience for me because I'm discovering all this new stuff about my songwriting and playing, which is very, very cool. I'm meeting a whole bunch of new guys online who are kind of into the same thing as me with the teaching thing, and just kind of chatting about guitar for hours on end, which is really right up my alley, I think, and it's in a way has been a lot of fun. It's obviously a trying time and a testing time for everyone, but I must say the support that people have shown me during this time has been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, when was the last time you had this much time on your hands?
God damn, I mean, I can't remember, Pete, when that was, to be honest with you. It was many, many, many moons ago. I think probably like early 2000s, 2001. I was probably like 20 years old or something like that. Kind of, just out of school, kind of, bumming around, still living in my parents' house, kind of practicing the guitar, kind of, so it's like that. I mean, it's a very different kind of experience now because I've got two kids and trying to keep two kids occupied and not kind of tearing the walls down and at home. It's a very, very tricky, challenging kind of task to do. You've got to kind of homeschool them, keep them entertained, and try and make sure they don't watch too much TV a day, and then also do the Skype lesson thing in between, and also the songwriting thing in between. So in a way, even though I've got a lot of time on my hands, it almost feels like I've got less time on my hands sometimes because of the kids. So it's craziness here, man. It really, really is.
You're known as a great guitar player. I'm always curious the time and effort really elite guitar players put into practicing and playing. So on average, what would you say is the amount of time you put in towards guitar on a given day?
Well, I mean, I think there's two different times. I think there's pre-lockdown time and lockdown time. So pre-lockdown time, I would like to do at least 4 hours a day, um, and that's not on tour. When I'm touring, it's obviously very, very difficult to kind of find a bit of time to practice because you're kind of playing every night, and that's kind of your practice. But when I'm off tour, I like to do 4 hours a day. And to be honest, it's for me, who's really passionate about the guitar playing thing, it's really easy to do because there's so much to do in that 4 hours. I mean, you can concentrate a bit of the time on songwriting. You can concentrate on improving how you solo. So it all depends on kind of the hat you want to wear for that day because, as you probably know, the guitar playing hat and the songwriting hat they are worlds apart. If you approach writing a song with the guitar player hat on, I find you tend to write stuff that's it's not fantastic. It's too guitar-y, and nothing wrong with too guitar-y, but songs need to come from the songwriting kind of place, and then you can worry about putting a cool solo on. So it all depends on a normal day where I kind of want to focus my attention and what I'm kind of feeling. So yeah, I mean, generally 4 hours a day.
As far as you're practicing with the guitar, what is it that you really want to focus on right now? Where are you trying to still improve?
On the guitar side of things, wow, I mean, it's crazy, man. Sometimes I wish I never started playing the guitar with, the better you get on the guitar, the less, the more you realize you know absolutely nothing about the guitar because you get better and better, and then you start seeing particular players that do a thing that you can't do, and you really like the sound of it. So at the moment, I'm just trying to kind of get my guitar playing into the most melodic place I can possibly get it. To really, in guitar terms, really outline the chords a lot better and just kind of, smashing away over the thing, which I still do. I still love that sound. But just trying to get a slightly more melodic edge on the sound and really serve the song I'm playing over a lot better than I've ever done before. So I think that's the main goal currently.
Who are some players then right now who inspire you in terms of that melodic type of playing?
Right. So, I mean, there's a ton of them out there. I think Josh Smith is for me one of the, he's just, I don't have the words to describe how much I enjoy his guitar playing. He is, the best way to describe Josh for me would be, is if B.B. King, Danny Gatton and Charlie Parker all had a baby, right? Which would be very, very. It's a weird thing to think about. So forget about that part. If they had a baby, that baby would be Josh Smith, right? Because he kind of approaches the blues like B.B. King with that kind of respect and soul. His technique is like Danny Gatton, and his no choice is comes out of like Charlie Parker or John Coltrane. It's unbelievable, and for me, when it comes to melodic playing, it's very hard to think of a better player that does that. And since I first heard him, I've just been a massive, massive fan of his guitar playing. So he has been a massive inspiration.
And with this time at home, have you had more time to just kind of dive in and listen to some new music?
Pete, I wish that was the case. Not really. I mean, I've just got the new Philip Sace album that I think was released very recently. And to be honest, with all the teaching and the kids, I haven't even had the chance to open it up and listen to it, and I'm dying to because I'm a big Philip fan, and always have loved his sound and everything. And so I'm dying to get into the new record, but just haven't had the time to. It's so yeah. To kind of the short answer of that is unfortunately not. And hopefully I'm going to try and make some time this week. I've actually I promised myself that I need to actually make some time for myself just to kind of listen to new music and get inspired and just have a a new perspective on things just by listening to, for instance, the new Philip album.
And you're going to have a new album coming out soon. With the way things are going and the prominence that streaming has kind of taken, do you think CDs are still worth selling?
That is a brilliant question, and I keep on asking myself that question. What I think is generally, and this is just in a general term, I think generally a blues rock audience, or maybe just my blues rock audience. I mean, I'm just speaking for myself now. Is a slightly older generation. So when I see people at my shows, if it's in Europe or the UK or here in South Africa, it's generally people my father's age. And I've always said to myself, the day that I see my father on Spotify or Apple Music is the day I know I need to start worrying about the CD thing, because I can't picture my father being on his phone, kind of downloading a new album or streaming a new album. I just can't see that happening. So at the moment, I've definitely seen a massive dip in CD sales at the merch stand after shows. There's definitely been a massive kind of decrease there. But believe it or not, I'm still selling CDs. All over the place, all over the world. And I think it's just generally due to maybe a couple factors. Is one, the age of the audience, possibly, and maybe two, it's kind of something maybe to sign. You kind of maybe almost buy the CD itself as almost like an ornament. Maybe you never even take the CD out and pop it into the player. It's just like you write a message on the cover and you sign it, and it goes onto the shelf or something like that. So maybe that's what it is. But saying that, I can't see CDs being around even for me too much longer. I think if you're like kind of a pop artist, that's really kind of your main target audience is kind of teenagers. I think CDs died a long time ago for artists like that. But maybe in the blues rock world, maybe it's got maybe a year or two still kind of maximum. But vinyls are still selling pretty well. I mean, that's kind of more of a niche thing. So it's a tough one to answer. I mean, it's probably on its way out.
How are you kind of adapting, and how do you think musicians just have to adapt to kind of, this change and just everything that's going on with technology right now in the music business?
It's another great question. I mean, the one way to do would be to fight it, but I mean, I think it's almost futile to fight the change. I mean, even though, I don't know, I think I read somewhere recently what artists get out of one stream. It's like ridiculous. You got to stream like 1 million times or something to kind of make real money out of it. But in the other sense is your music is instantly available to everyone in the world, instantly. You can kind of put a social media post out there saying my new album kind of is launching today, and your entire fan base of the world can have it instantly, and you can become very discoverable like that. So I think that's the good thing, that side of it. But to make a living, I think it's all about touring now, because, well, not right now. It's not about touring, but when all this chaos ends, it'll be a little bit more about back to touring. It's about playing live, putting on a show live. And I think when it comes to merchandise, you've got to kind of start thinking a little bit outside the box. You kind of know that most people already have your record. They've got it on Spotify or one of the platforms. So you've got to start looking at kind of cool merch options. I mean, I don't know. I haven't even thought that far ahead, but I mean, you got to go beyond the t-shirts and the hoodies and the caps. You know what I mean? I think we've got to start thinking a little bit kind of more out the box with that, and really start selling cool stuff, man, that people kind of want. But it's all about touring, man, and you can kind of see a trend with all these kind of mega super groups from kind of yesteryear. That used to kind of pack out arenas all over the world, and went into retirement and were kind of maybe surviving on royalties and album sales. And obviously that is now, for the most part, disappeared. And you see a lot of these bands back on the road again and back on world tours again. And I suspect, that might be one of the reasons that is happening.
Once touring resumes, it's probably not going to be exactly, the way it is now. There's probably going to be gradual changes. What kind of concerns you the most about just the future of touring and music with everything that's going on right now?
Well, I mean, there's a couple things that concern me. All tours that were booked during this period, the first kind of quarter of this year, everything is being pushed forward, and then no one kind of knows. There's no definite answer on, right, this date will be the date where everything goes back to normal. I mean, no one knows that. So I suspect everything's going to kind of keep getting pushed forward, so that there's going to be a backlog, in the industry. I think with the gradual return to normality, I think there's going to be, my feeling is going to be a limit on the number of people that are going to be allowed in venues, of gatherings, I suppose. So maybe when they first unlock it, it might be like 20 people can gather at one time, and that's the law, and then it might go to 50, and then it might go to 80, and then 120. So I think, I really feel, and I know it's probably not the great news, but the feeling I get is I think it's going to be a lot longer than people think. I don't think in a few months it's going to be back to it was last year. And I think it's going to be at least a year from probably now-ish of a gradual change until we're back to normal. So it's almost a tough pill to swallow, because, I think a lot of musicians, if we want to start touring after this lockdown ends, it's going to be to smaller audiences and gradually kind of growing, which, I mean, it's tough. To pay a band, to pay your crew and your band, it's very, very tough to kind of pay everyone if you kind of not getting the numbers in that you kind of used to. So you kind of got to downscale your your crew, all that kind of stuff. So there's probably a lot of people that are going to be out of a job for a while in the industry, because it's not just musicians that are kind of hurting because of this. It's anyone in the music industry. I mean, if it's sound guys and crew members and techs, it's crazy, man. So it's so difficult to say. It's quite scary not having a definite answer for the future.
Yeah, a lot of bands are doing Facebook live shows. Some of them do it straight off their phone, and others right now are actually getting professional setups, with professional audio, and some of them are doing pay-per-view concerts. Is that something you think we'll see more of kind of going forward?
I think so. I mean, maybe this whole virus is going to change the world completely. Maybe, after this long period of lockdown, maybe people are just going to be content at listening to music kind of from their their homes, just in the comfort of their homes, and maybe it's going to become a thing. I mean, I can't imagine that it would replace live touring, because there's nothing kind of like being in the same room as an artist in a band and hearing it like real loud in your face, kind of, like in a sweaty club or whatever. I don't know if it would replace that, but I mean, I haven't personally done too much of the live streaming thing, mainly because I don't have any equipment to do it. I got my phone. I've kind of done a similar thing with my teaching. I do like kind of group kind of classes on certain things, and that's $10 to join, so it's fairly cheap to join, and I teach for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and kind of answer questions and stuff. So that's kind of the way I've kind of gone. The reason I haven't done too many performances is because I don't generally play on my own. I'm not like a kind of a guy that can just kind of grab an acoustic guitar and just like smash out a tune or two. I'm not really comfortable doing that. Maybe I should get comfortable doing that. I normally kind of rely on a band or something like that, and obviously that is kind of tricky at the moment to try and get a whole bunch of guys together. I'm going to look at kind of doing that remote recording thing where the drummer records a groove and then the bass player puts a thing down, but it's kind of difficult to really put a song down. It's more of a jam thing, a little bit of fun. So I might do a bit more of that. But I think it's kudos to all those musicians doing that. It's about kind of, for me, making the most of a pretty bleak situation, and being a musician is a tough gig anyway. I mean, it's not easy, and obviously in this kind of climate, it's exceptionally difficult. So kudos to everyone that's kind of making the proverbial lemonade out of lemons type of thing.
Yeah, this could be a tough question to answer, especially right now, but what sort of advice would you give to musicians, up and coming musicians who are trying to give it a go right now and make a career out of music?
Well, I mean, it's obviously tough right now. I mean, you got to kind of look at all the facts, and the facts are everyone is sitting at home, probably bored out of their minds at the moment. So having a stronger online presence right now would probably be a very, very good thing. But then again, there's a lot of noise out there at the moment because everyone's online at the moment. I mean, I can't open Facebook for a second, and every second post is someone doing a kind of a live performance on some sort of instrument. So it's in that sense, it's quite tough to kind of be heard and seen in this kind of craziness. But maybe it's a case of offering something unique to people that people would be interested in. So the way I kind of looked at it was, people are going to be sitting at home, they've got a lot of time on their hands, so why not kind of improve your guitar playing while doing it. So that was kind of one of my approaches, instead of necessarily going to the performance thing where I feel I'm going to do a substandard performance anyway, and I don't know if I really want to do a substandard performance with the crappy sound of my phone and me on an acoustic guitar that I don't really normally do. So I kind of looked at a way to kind of offer some value, I suppose, to someone. I think everyone's always just looking for value, and the way to, I suppose, to be noticed online right now would be to offer something different and of massive value that people might be interested in.
Right. All right, Dan, anything else you want to add before we let you go?
Well, Pete, I mean, as I say, I mean, we got this new album. I mean, I was kind of raring to go to get this album off to you closer to the release date, so Blues Rock Review could give it a review. It's on the burner. It's ready to go. And maybe guys can keep an eye on my social media and whatnot when this album will be released. I'm hoping, hopefully, end of this year, but more than likely beginning of next year. So. Yeah, that's about it, man. Yeah.
Hey, something to look forward to. Can't wait to hear it.
Well, Pete, thank you for your time, brother. It's always awesome chatting to you, and just a real pleasure.